Guys, welcome back to another episode. We are into season 3 of It's a Man's World podcast, and I have a very beautiful special guest with me here today, Talia. I will leave her Instagram, everything below. But today's episode and this season is going to be called Feminine Feb. It's going to be about beauty. So today's episode is going to be on beauty by decade. So we're going to touch on the importance of Botox depending on the age. Talia's Instagram is Talia the Injector. You'll see there that her style and her work and what she does is very natural and subtle. And for me, that's a big thing. Like everything I do is very pure. Everything that I post online is real. It's authentic. There's no like fakeness. There's no bullshit about me. And you all know that. And it was important for me to find someone while I was here for my Botox. I'm going to put my hand up and say, yes, I do get Botox. And I feel like let's take the stigma around like being afraid to say that you get a little bit of Botox. And for a while, I was kind of scared to do that because I had a younger audience, but that has kind of like changed a little bit over time. So this episode is going to really kind of open up your eyes into maybe what to look for, the importance of SPF, your skin, and just overall our beauty. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's important for men too, but I feel like this
100%.
episode is like female based.
For the girls.
For the girls, exactly. So if you could just like give my audience a little bit of an insight into like who you are, where you're from, and how you got into this industry as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you first of all for having me in that beautiful introduction. Obviously, you are such a beast in the gym. You're empowering your audience, your women, and so I'm motivated by you. I'm very flattered even to be here. So background on me, big fan of art and science. So I started in nursing in surgical ICU for about 5 years at the largest non-for-profit hospital in Miami. It was very much like an exercise in overcoming stress to work in ICU. But I knew that I wanted something with more autonomy. So I got my master's, became a nurse practitioner, and from there pretty much segued straight into aesthetics because it marries art and science. And so I got a mentorship, had a very extensive mentorship, and then I began working. I took facial balancing master classes and just continued kind of like learning. You want to sponge in because aesthetics is changing all the time. Kind of segueing off what you said as well about the narrative changing as well. Like I think a couple years ago, we were very much in like the Russian lip technique style, like big, people wanted to wear their money on their face, so to speak. And I think I got into the industry in the last several years in a time where we're kind of changing more towards like the natural look, like undetectable injectables that are highlighting natural beauty. And that's very much my approach. We don't want to change the dynamic and the integrity of what somebody looks like. We just want to kind of boost their confidence a little bit and do things that are going to help us age gracefully.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. And that's something that I noticed straight away from your page. Obviously, Shiraz, he recommended me over to you.
Oh, yeah,
so
he's
thank
lovely.
you. He's amazing. So when I see on your page, I do research on no matter what I'm doing, whether it's someone that I'm going to for my hair. When you change country as well, naturally, it's hard to find all the little things that you get done, like your nails and like the things that like it makes you feel good. And when I looked on your page, I seen like, all right, okay, when you done like say lip filler, like when I see someone's page with lip filler and it's huge and there's like so much there, like for me, I'm just like, I can't, like that would freak me out. And like it's so scary when you're doing that process because it's your face.
Exactly.
And like if it's your lips or if it's Botox, I was like, oh my God, like will I be okay? What way will I turn out? And when I went to you straight away, the minute I walked into the clinic, like it's beautiful. Like that clinic is like, it's the standard. And I think when you're doing anything, the standard that you have for yourself in the people that you speak to, yourself, how you show up every day, the food that you eat, and then especially the places that you're going to.
100%.
Like, look at the place that you're walking into. What does it feel like?
Yes.
You know?
And that's something I kind of had to learn because when you first start out, you have a lot of like, you want everything that you can get, obviously. And working at a clinic now at Charette, where they give me a lot of autonomy in my practice. It's beautiful. It's well kept. I'm the sole provider there. I'm able to dictate consults the way that I want. I have my esthetician, Kimia, who is super talented as well. We very much have like a solid foundation together, and my management as well. We have like a very good company culture. So that was super important to me because I did independent contracting prior to working at Charette. And that was definitely a lot of learning. I worked at some very wonderful clinics, but you learn through seeing different styles, kind of the way that you want to navigate and the way that you want to dictate the care that you're going to provide and your own style. And finding a clinic that supports you kind of leading your authorship and your own aesthetics in your services is huge.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously, yeah, it's a beautiful clinic. We change the flowers every week, get it cleaned every day, try to keep it immaculate and high standards for clients.
Yeah, and you can feel that from the minute you walk in, you know. And I think even when I walked in for my first consultation, like I didn't know you, I felt welcome. Like you're filling everything out. Naturally, you do that anyways when you're going in to get Botox and filler or whatever you're getting done. But like you take your pictures, you assess, you make sure like, are you sure you're okay? Like you also follow up after where you're like, how do you feel? Like, do you want to check if it's okay? Did it go all right? Like, do you want me to put more? And I'm just like, to even do that, because normally like you're in, you're out, and like I'll see it in a couple of months down the line if you need it again. But let's bring it back to the ages and when and where you should get it done, because I feel like from a lot of my girls, they'd be like, yeah, I need Botox done. I'm like, but you don't, because at that age as well, say from like 17 to like 21, like you technically, I just feel like at that age, you don't really need it unless
Right.
you really need it, like, you know.
Somebody under the age of 21, there's hardly anything that I'm going to do for them. Early 20s, you want to be very, very conservative. So if we're going to take it by decade, for example,
Yes.
if we're in our 20s, our early 20s, we still have great collagen. We still have elastin supporting our skin type. So the most important thing I would say is like very good skincare. So your SPF is huge. I know SPF, I think there was a little bit of like hiccups because there was like benzene, like a chemical that was impacted in the manufacturing process of some SPFs. And so people thought that like sunscreen causes cancer and all this and that. But you do your research. If you prefer, people can use like a mineral-based sunscreen. But what we know for fact is that UV damage, visible light, all of that stuff is going to affect the integrity of your DNA, and that affects your collagen in your skin. So having good skincare, wearing SPF, the basics, because TikTok will show you like a million different products that you need and this and that, really is like a trifecta of cleanse, treat, and protect. So you want like a cleanser that's suitable for your skin type. If you have oily skin, if you have normal skin, dry skin. And then you want something that's going to treat. So maybe an antioxidant, something to address hyperpigmentation or acne, and then a moisturizer suitable for your skin type, and then SPF. Like really a 4-step is all that you need.
Yeah.
And then baby Botox here and there, maybe when you're in your 20s. You know, it depends. I don't want to say there's like a specific age because it can depend on your genetics, on your lifestyle. All of that is going to impact, and your sun exposure as well. Being in Florida, people get a lot of sun exposure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we'll do like baby Botox. And then filler can be there, but it's like the icing on the cake.
Okay.
So if somebody wants like half a syringe of lip filler, something subtle, or if they maybe have like a receded chin, it's not that it doesn't have a place, but filler is never like the gold standard for people in their 20s. We really want to be conservative because like you're saying, like I don't want it to be like a factory kind of place, chop shop, where people come in once and I don't see them. I want to grow a trusting relationship with you, with all my clients, that they trust that like I care about what you look today, but I also care about what you're going to look a year from now, 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And the frequency of those things are important too. Like even if somebody is doing very subtle filler once and then they say, oh, 3 months later, I need a top up. If you're doing that serially for years, that's when you can start to look weird, right? So it's very important to have somebody at the 6-month follow-up say, you know what, I think we're good. We don't need anything. Or a year from now, like, oh, maybe we should try something like hyperdilute radius to stimulate versus just volume with filler. And getting somebody that you trust, because when you clinic hop a lot, it's hard to have that relationship and know that that person has your best interest. It's your face. Like,
exactly.
It's very important.
Yeah,
you know?
it is. And if it goes wrong, like it's, of course, like we were chatting about this before we came in, you can reverse it, but it's a long process, and like it's an everyday thing. It's work, it's where you're going, it's like everything, you know, so it's not like you can hide it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think in Miami, like it's like the standard is like big lips, cheek filler, like the more you have, the better. But I feel like that's changing slowly. Like the more natural look is definitely coming back for sure.
Definitely. I think also we're moving more towards, instead of being very filler focused, more towards things that are biostimulatory. So when I say biostimulating, what I mean specifically are things that are going to induce your own collagen, because we are losing collagen and elastin by percentages every year from like our early 20s onward. So things that are stimulating our collagen are things like microneedling, maybe like hyperdilute radius, a light peel, non-ablative lasers. All those things are discussed kind of in office, in consult, to see like the texture of your skin and different things that can be beneficial. I think sometimes when people think like, oh, I don't look my very best, they think, oh, I need more filler, I need this and that. And like maybe there's something else going on, you know? We have so many layers.
Yeah.
Like, so from an anatomy perspective, which is the way that we're supposed to be trained, we have our bone structure, we have our deep fat pads, we have our muscle, we have our superficial fat, and then we have 5 layers of our skin that sit on top of that. So there's a lot going on. We don't want to just have one approach. We have to have a lot of tools in our kit to make sure people look and feel their best.
For sure. I love that. And I think that's like, even with a transformation, you don't just go in and tell someone to do 20,000 steps and eat no calories. It's like, what else is going on? What's their stress like? Even with someone's environment, maybe that's why their skin is acting up. And I know from myself, when you look after your skin, oh my God, everything changes. Like sometimes you're like, shit, I probably don't even actually need that Botox. And you're like, maybe that actually was just me thinking that, or you needed like your brows or something done, or like you weren't using the usual routine that you normally have. When you say skincare and SPF, just a question, do you have to have like at home, you're told, and naturally in general, to wear SPF even when the sun isn't out? Is that a thing, or what's your verdict on that? Because there's a lot of like back and forward on that.
Yes. So I think the climate does make a difference. Living somewhere like Florida, 100%.
Okay.
And it's also just forming the habit of doing it. Consistency is going to be key with that, because the same way that you have houseplants in your office or in your home that are getting sunlight from outside, they're still going to grow because the sun is still affecting even from the windows. So yeah, SPF it's just a good habit really to form and get into, and one that you feel like is suitable for your skin type, not one that leaves like a white cast, not one that makes you feel greasy, oily. Once you find one that you like and you just incorporate it in your routine and set that consistent standard, it'll be much easier to maintain. Even if you don't think it's like, you know, doing anything super beneficial if you're inside all day, just form the habit, because it's just better to have that habit, you know?
For sure. And what about sunbeds?
Sunbeds?
Yeah, because
no,
that's
no.
like, maybe not here, that might not be a big thing, but that's like in Europe, especially at home, England, Ireland, because we don't really get vitamin D really. Like people and young people are like, they're like doing 4 a week, and like they're burning themselves to crisp before a holiday and all. Like you're still gonna get a tan when you're away, but like what's the whole sunbed thing?
So I obviously am super, super against that. I think that the benefit of going out, and I'm super into like touching grass, grounding, getting vitamin D, getting natural light, going outside, going for a walk, like all of that is super important for your physical and your mental health. So I think when you're doing something like a sunbed, you're not getting the benefit of being outside, of getting natural sunlight, and you're increasing your risk of cancer, of UV damage, DNA damage. So you're like it's a double lose. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are going to expose yourself, do it in a way where you're either getting natural sunlight and then complement it with like maybe a little bit of like self tanner if you have to.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm very lucky that that's not an issue for me.
Yeah.
But healthy skin is going to look better than a tan at the end of the day.
For sure.
So,
And what's more important, having healthy and actually a life that you can live and not getting cancer, or putting a bit of tan on and being able to take it off, or a bit of tinted moisturizer, you know?
and even more than, I mean, yes, we do know that sunscreen or that sun damage can come and cause cancer, but also just for your fine lines and wrinkles and the texture of your skin. When you have constant sun exposure, you are going to notice that you have less collagen support from the UV damage. So we want to be super careful. We still want to go outside. We still want to get sunlight, but we want to do it in a responsible way where we're wanting to age gracefully.
And you will still get a tan with SPF, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll still get a tan.
Yes.
Amazing. And bringing it back to, let's just touch on Botox for a minute. Like what actually is, like, if you can explain what Botox is, so that like we can get a bit of a deeper understanding into what it actually does.
Right. So, but Botox is a neurotoxin that we do intramuscularly to treat the muscle movement of certain areas. So we have to know the muscles that we want to treat, and we have to know the muscles that we need to avoid. For example, people always say like, "Oh, I hate my nasolabial folds. Can I put Botox there?" If I put Botox here, I'm going to affect the way that you smile because we're treating the muscle. So you're training the muscles that you want that are to make sure that they contract less so that those lines, when we make our expressions, aren't getting deeper, right? Filler, for example, is more volume based. So we have fat pads that we want to support. We want to accentuate maybe our cheeks, or maybe once we start moving more towards like our later 30s, 40s, that is a good time to be talking about subtle enhancements with filler because we are losing volume in our fat pads, and that's hyaluronic acid based. So, two different things. They do work synergistically very often, but offering and doing completely different things.
Okay.
Right? So, the Botox is treating the muscle, filler is treating the fat pads in the face.
Okay, so that's why filler down the line when you're a little bit older is what you would opt for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to bring it back to like the
Ages,
decades,
yeah.
right? So 20s recap, very good skincare, maybe baby Botox, that's more consult specific,
Yeah.
and collagen stimulating stuff like microneedling, a light peel, and that can be your management for up to like a decade probably.
Amazing.
Then you get to your 30s and we're noticing more changes, maybe more collagen loss, so we want to do biostimulatory stuff using PRP. Hyperdilute radius, for example, is a biostimulator as well. Anything that kind of kickstarts your collagen is good to do. Then we can do like skin resurfacing with laser, getting a little more aggressive, but still having that foundation the same. Okay. Then in our later 30s, 40s, that's when we want to talk about filler because we are losing volume in our fat pads, and that is the time to start incorporating stuff like that, which is why when we're doing it in our early 20s, we don't really want to be too aggressive with it. Because you want to think about, okay, how is this person going to look in 5 years, 10 years if they're doing filler every single year from the age of 22 forward? That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And then once you start getting into like your later 50s, 60s, that's when maybe, possibly we can talk about surgical interventions, facelifts, things like that. But we want to do all the non-invasive stuff possible first to just keep you looking like yourself. You never want to lose the essence of who you are, of what you look like.
Yeah.
I think that if somebody comes in and I'm more concerned that they have like a body dysmorphia concern going on, that is where your provider hat is very, very important because people think with aesthetics, like you're losing your medical background. You absolutely need to have super foundational knowledge of anatomy, of complications, of, bruising into tissues, vascular occlusions, all these things are very important. And then women will sit in my chair and I want to make sure that they are in a good headspace, that they're not like chasing every single line or asymmetry because they're trying to distract from something else going on. So getting to the root of what's really going on with your patients in any field of medicine is super important.
Yeah, I love that because you really don't know why someone is there. They could be there because someone is commenting on like they need it done, or maybe they're commenting on like their chin, girls that are like
I've
getting
had so
dissolvents.
many women cry in my chair.
And is it because of what people are commenting on how they look, or what is it? Because I feel like even when it comes to like a body transformation, for example, like I've had like girls that have come in and they would literally be crying as well because maybe like their friend or a partner has commented but keeps commenting. So it's like, are you doing it for someone else or are you doing it for yourself?
That's the most important part about the reason behind what we're trying to do. Like, I don't want anybody coming in and saying, well, my boyfriend likes this style, so I guess that's what I need to be doing.
Right.
And also the way that we lead consults, I think is really important. I've worked with other providers. Most of them have been fabulous. But for the most part, I want to see us empowering. I don't want to ever point out somebody's insecurity. That is not my style. That is not why I'm there. They sit down, I say, what are you here for today? What are we talking? What are we curious about? And also explaining it from like an anatomy perspective of like, this is what's going to happen as we get older. We want to still age. It's a beautiful thing. It's a blessing. But wanting to age gracefully and with these natural enhancements, I think is our approach versus if somebody comes in and they want like a very drastic change, I'm going to be like, okay, hold on, like trying to figure
What's
out
going
what's
on?
going on, what the root of the want for the change is. Is this an impulsive decision? Thankfully, everything I do is non-invasive, so it's not permanent, but you want to lead your consults in the most ethical way possible and empowering people without making them feel, any type of way. Especially like living somewhere like Miami, which it's a double-edged sword. I love this city. It inspires me every day. But I think there is also a lot of pressure for young women to look a certain way. And so when somebody comes in and they're in their early 20s, I'm going to be very, very, very conservative.
Yeah.
I'm still going to give them the results that they want, but I'm never going to do any overwork in one day.
Which is amazing though, because then if they love it, they can be like, wow, the difference. Maybe I didn't need that much, and they've trusted in you, and they'll naturally come back. And if they want a little bit more down the line, but I've definitely noticed that in Miami for sure. Like even in like say the gym, or if you're going out, like there's BBLs and there's like everyone has their lips done, and like everyone is very like perfect, I would say. Like in a way, like whatever you want to call perfection, but there is like the perfect face, the makeup, the lashes, like I don't see people ever being like, geez, they look like they're in bits.
Or like dressed down.
Never. Like it's always like, and I feel like that's definitely a lot of pressure for places like this, because then it's like, I need my lips done. Or like if a man likes this style, I'm going to get that done. Like I feel like that's a very big thing. Surgical like procedures, maybe it's that if it's your boobs, if it's your getting your glutes done, that like it's like nearly every second person that you see would be like that. And it's not to say it's bad, but they're doing it for the right reason, and that's the thing.
Yes. I think when it comes to anything surgically, people need to sit on it for a while.
Yeah.
If I did anything surgically, I think I would definitely want my patients to at least think about it for a couple months before you do something that's irreversible. Obviously, explaining all the risk and complications of going under anesthesia and putting your body through any kind of traumatic recovery, and the intention of why you're doing it. Like, are you doing this because your boyfriend wants you to do it? Are you doing it because you're jealous of so and so? Or are you going to say, hey, like I think that this is going to boost my confidence. I have a strong foundation. If you don't have that foundation of confidence already there, then you're not going to get it from doing one or two treatments or services. Like you want to feel good about yourself, and very much like what you do with your diet and your lifestyle, that's going to affect the integrity of your skin. That's going to affect your confidence, the way that you feel in your body physically. And so when you have like a very good physique, the physique is the outfit, like people can buy a bunch of clothes and everything, but like if you have the discipline and you take good care of yourself, that is such a huge part of feeling and looking good. And then we can do these subtle things here and there, but we don't want to get too surgery heavy or too filler heavy or anything. We want to have a healthy diet and lifestyle. It's integral to have that foundation.
I love that, and that's exactly why I loved going with you, and I was comfortable, and I didn't even have to doubt it. And I was like, I know what I'm coming in for, and I knew straight away from, as I said, looking from the outside at your page, it's exactly who you are as well. Like it resembles what you resemble, and who you are right now is like the purity of what your page is and your results and your clients. And I think energy attracts energy.
Yeah.
So like look at the people that you attract in. Like the minute we had I had my appointment, afterwards I was like, I'd love you to come onto the podcast, because I could feel the vibe. I knew the energy. You treated me so well when I went in. I felt so comfortable. I left and I was like, wasn't expecting that in Miami, because that's like the stigma around what you would expect it, Yeah. So it's amazing to have that. And then it's like, what type of clients do you get? You probably don't get, well, you might, but I don't know. Do you get clients that want like OTT over the top, or do you get the more natural, subtle?
I think once people do their research and they look at your style, you're gonna attract a specific clientele. Obviously, anytime somebody goes to any kind of like medical spa, you will get people that want things over the top. And I think naturally they're gonna start learning that that's not so much my style.
Yes.
I will show people in the mirror like, hey, like we have very good support here and here and here. We don't need this right now.
Yeah.
And I might try to segue them towards doing another service that I think they're better suited for. So I think once people kind of learn your style, that's the clientele you're going to attract.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And ultimately, like I said, I really want people to feel comfortable. I think med spas can get a very bad reputation. And I also understand why, because people think, oh, like I have to like wipe off all my makeup and take these pictures and they're going to point out everything wrong with me. And like, I want women to like go in there feeling good and walk out feeling even better. I don't want to like push anyone down. That's not my style at all.
Love that. Amazing. And energy attracts energy. What you put out is what you get back.
Exactly.
It's a reflection of yourself, you know, like, and you know what I was just thinking there? What was it that I was going to say now? I said to you, if you forget what you're going to say now, I was going to forget. Oh yes. So like the importance of like the inner work.
Yes.
With anything. So this is like bringing it back to a transformation, your job, your life, going in and getting aesthetics. Like everything on the outside is external, but what about the internal? So like if you're very confident in yourself and you love yourself and you're going in for like the right reasons of, I'm not going in to change myself, but change is amazing, but I'm not going in to physically change how I look and who I am. I'm going into just enhance or make sure that I don't get like those lines there, or I want to feel a little bit more oomphed or lifted if I'm stressed, or like I noticed when I was in the sun for like a full year that I was like these lines, like they, like I could feel it was sun lines, like, and then I obviously record a lot of content and naturally I don't want to see like wrinkles or lines up here like that, so I was like, I'm gonna get a little bit of that done, and that's what I would say. I put my hand up and say, yeah, of course I get it done. Or if it's coming to filler, I might get maybe like half in my lips once a year. And that's all I feel like I need, but that's personal dependent. But I think the thing that I'm trying to get across here is if you know yourself and if you're very confident and like your true self, like you don't need that external change to make you feel better because you know yourself deeper.
Absolutely.
So like my thing is, I don't know if you've ever seen like the actual vision and the picture of like, it's like a little dot in the middle and that's like infinity and that's your soul. Around you is like your family, around you again is like your friends, around that again is like your job, where you're living, your environment, and on the outside is like your clothes, who you are, what you wear, and like your everything else around you, right? And my thing is that like if you're starting from the outside, how do you actually expect to understand who your true authentic self is in infinity in the middle?
I'm very happy that you said that because I think even though I was always very interested in aesthetics, I personally, being completely honest, I felt a little bit of like hesitancy and slight shame a bit at first. Like, okay, like my background is ICU, you know, I'm segueing towards something that, you know, a lot of men don't like. On top of that, they hate hearing if you ever do anything. And then, you know, if it can be linked with any kind of superficiality. But I think having things that you're doing that are in the nature of self-care, of taking care of yourself. You don't get your hair done because you're insecure. You do it because, you know, your roots are growing in, you want to fill them or whatever. And I think that having somebody, hopefully people consider me one of the person, you know, for them.
For sure.
That is highlighting self-care without it centering their universe is important. Yes. Okay. You're happy with your dose? Great. I'll see you in 3 months or whatever. I don't want somebody saying, okay, what can I do now? What can I do now? And that's their full topic. And the only thing that they care about is the external. If you look good, you feel good. I do believe that. But I think that there's so much more to that. Obviously, your diet, what you're consuming, the relationships that you have with those around you, who you're surrounding yourself with, the conversations you're taking in, everything else is so much more important, of course. And then we have these things that we can do to enhance and to feel good. But having that really core foundation is very, very important.
For sure.
I'm still the girl who wakes up every day, listens to her podcasts, listens to the daily, you know,
pure.
You can't center your universe around just what you look like. It's not healthy.
No, and true confidence comes from within.
Exactly.
It comes from like your true authentic self, and that's why I think even when I have girls and they get to a certain body weight and it's like, oh, but I just need to like lose that lower pouch, and I'm like, you've lost like 30 kg, you're not happy within yourself, you're still hiding, you're still picking at yourself. Oh yeah, but I actually hate the cellulite on my legs. I'm like, why would you pull yourself down like that? And I think at that stage, if you still are, if you've been working on yourself a long time, or if you haven't at all, and you go and you try and get something like that done, it's like there's something deeper going on there. And naturally, it's probably not our point to step in and do that. Everyone's journey is themselves. But I think if you get to a point where you get all this filler done and you've got all the money and you can spend it on whatever, deep down where's your true happiness and where you like align with yourself. And if you're not,
100%.
that's your sign that like that didn't actually make you happy. And if anything, it probably made you feel worse, because when you get it done and you look a couple of weeks down the line, you're like, you still feel shit. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so what's going on then? If you've done your job and they wanted the lips and they wanted the Botox and they're looking tight and they feel amazing, why are you still not happy?
Exactly.
You
And
know?
everyone's going to have their own insecurities,
Yeah.
obviously. I think that the foundation, like we're saying, is the most important part. You have to have the foundation, and then everything piggybacks off that. But if you don't feel good on your inside, and, you know, the relationship you have with yourself is the most important thing. And that's the thing that I think you're really good with empowering your audience and the women that you train. When it comes to weight, I know that it can be a very tricky conversation, because obviously everybody's built differently. We all are beautiful in all our shapes and sizes, but we want to have the discipline of a healthy body, of supporting lean muscle mass. That is super important as you're aging and going through life.
Okay.
Of, you know, having a good training style to support your health really is the most important thing, more than the external, more than the weight, more than our cellulite. Like, are our bones supported? Do we have good lean muscle mass? Are we getting stronger every day? Are we challenging ourselves as women? And I think that if you change the framework and your mindset, then you're not going to be nitpicking yourself so much, because nobody's perfect.
No.
People come in and they're like, oh, I'm a little asymmetric on this side of like everybody is a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So we can't be chasing perfection. It's just not realistic.
I love that. Amazing. When you say lean muscle mass, so let's talk about strength training and protein in your diet. What's the importance of it? Listen up, girls, because that's important. Like, that's like, people are like in the different phases, and I'm like, yoga, Pilates, meditation, like running, absolutely amazing. Like, none of them are bad. They're all there for their own purpose, and they're so good for your mind, body, soul. But having high protein diet, getting daylight exposure, like, what is the importance of the lean muscle mass for your skin?
Yes. So everybody has obviously their own style that's different. What works for me specifically is like strength training about 3 times a week, and then doing something like yoga or bar once or twice a week. And that has been my standard, and I've really enjoyed that practice. But strength training, it's important for a lot of reasons. You're supporting your bone health, your bone density, which starts, you know, getting diminished as you age. You put yourself at risk for osteopenia, osteoporosis. So when you're supporting your bone health and then your lean muscle mass, that's what our metabolism is, you know, where it lives is in our lean muscle mass. So when you have good lean muscle mass to support your metabolism, that also contributes to fat burning. So we want to incorporate protein like chicken, fish, those types of things, and then complex carbs, not really simple carbs. We want to obviously avoid as much processed foods as possible. I know in this country, I'm not sure how it is in Ireland, but I know in America it can be very difficult. So we want to be very mindful of having things that are organic, fresh produce, things that you cook. Forming those habits, your diet is more important than almost any other foundational health aspect. And then you incorporate exercise with that, supporting your lean muscle mass, and you set yourself up well, especially because when you're eating poorly, you're having like a lot of sugar, for example, that increases glycation, which affects your skin and your collagen. If you have too much glycation going on, that's going to affect the texture of your skin, what you look like. So we want to still have obviously healthy fats, protein, complex carbs, but we want to avoid like simple carbs, things that are going to affect our body in a negative way, preservatives, things that our body's not used to breaking down, because it's a temple. You want to take good care of it.
Amazing.
You know?
And I literally seen a video last night of this like 55-year-old man and like a 62-year-old woman, and like these people did not look 55 and 62. Like, they were in incredible shape, and it was because like they weight trained and they still weight train. And like this is why I say it to like my mom, like she's like 65 now, and I'm like, no, you need to get back doing your weights. And when she does it, her body and her skin and everything, I'm like, mom, you look so different.
It's just the way that you move.
Oh,
I mean, I understand. I know a lot of your audience obviously do work out, but for women that don't, I understand how intimidating it is to go to the gym. How do I rack weights? Am I going to look stupid? Am I, you know? But all of that in aesthetics is relevant, from the things that I do that implement self-care to the things that you do with women getting disciplined, building their confidence, saying, no, I don't care if I'm at the gym at 5:30 and everybody's here. Like, I can hold my own. I can take care of myself. I can discipline myself. And yeah, it's super important.
Yeah,
I segued a little bit there.
It is protein and lift your weights.
Please.
You know what I was just thinking actually there. What about someone, say for example, that's really overweight and they get Botox done or they get a filler done? What happens if they lose 40 kg? What happens to the face?
Yeah, so that's important for people that are overweight and also for women that are in their early 20s because something happens as you're getting to your later 20s where you naturally just become more angular, more chiseled. So we want to be very conservative and try to figure out what's going on first as far as like how they're going to age in the next decade, or if somebody's overweight, like you're saying, do they intend to lose weight first? Because what we'd be doing then is it would be a disservice.
Yes.
You know, if we're putting filler to add volume or to chisel certain things out, and then you're going to go on this weight loss journey, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I try, and when I was in my clinicals, because my background is originally primary care, there's a way that you want to address weight that isn't in a shameful way, but in a more of like a health concern way. Because at a severe overweight, you do put your bones at risk because of having more support on your joints and everything, on your cardiovascular health, on clogging your arteries and everything. Not that people can't be larger and healthy, but we want to ensure that what's going on inside, the weight is not affecting the function of our processes that our body is supposed to normally do. So yeah, so when people are more overweight, I do try to ask first, what else is going on, try to get a good medical history. And then if I can do anything, obviously that gives them a little confidence boost, then 100% there's a place for that as well. But if people intend to go on like any kind of weight loss journey or chisel out, then filler is something definitely that you should wait on until after the fact.
Amazing. I feel like that will help a lot of girls, and that's the journey. That's your sign. Don't look for those. Work on yourself first, and then when you get to that point and you need it and you want it, go ahead. But like, do the work first.
And big on not having any drastic changes, because when people lose weight rapidly, the skin doesn't have the support from the fat pads to respond. So then you'd want to do things like Morpheus 8, radiofrequency, microneedling to tighten the skin, because now that you don't have as much cushion, the skin needs more support. So figuring out, depending on where the person is, like what service is going to best serve them.
Okay, amazing. And I have another question as well. What happens, say, for example, when someone loses so much weight and the skin, like you're saying, like starts to sag and stuff? Is there a procedure? Like, I know you can get like tightening and stuff. Like, what would you recommend to someone that's like, say if they were really overweight, like 120 kg, and then they pull right back and they've lost like 50 kg, like naturally, if you don't do it at a slow and steady pace, I know from coaching girls that the skin will sag because like it has obviously stretched so much, and there's only so much elasticity that when you bring it back in, unless you have a lot of lean muscle, a lot of muscle on your body. Am I right by saying that?
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it also depends on age. Typically when people have more collagen and elasticity, they can bounce back a little bit faster. But that's also what I'm saying about drastic changes. Like, slow and steady is always better. We don't want to do drastic changes, because whether we're augmenting something and adding a bunch of, cosmetic treatments, that's when people get into like a body dysmorphia concern if we're doing too much in a day. In the same way, if somebody is on a weight loss journey and they lose, 30 pounds in a couple weeks or something, your skin needs time to rebound. If they do go the drastic route and their skin is sagging, then yes, there's non-invasive things that we can do. Radiofrequency microneedling to tighten the skin. There's like physique, body sculpting, cool sculpting, a lot of different options on the non-invasive time, and time as well. Like, you give your skin time to start to respond. And then, if needed, there's surgical interventions. But typically, if people are a little younger, they can usually avoid that if possible.
It's always a rare case that you would really have to do that unless it was one extreme to another.
That's why I always like people to do a slow and steady. It is a long-term benefit, instead of a temporary. Instant gratification is hardly ever the best case scenario for things.
Yeah, it is.
Gotta hang in there.
No one wants to play the long game. Like, everyone wants the result like, straight away.
Listen to me.
Just trust the process. Amazing. And like, when I'm coming to the end of any podcast and when I've kind of like gotten a good idea into like what you do and the results and just everything overall, I always have like two questions at the end that I like to ask. And the two that have kind of come to me at the end here is like, what advice would you give to someone in the later ages that wants to just like go and get the Botox, go and get their lips done, but like their family and their parents are like, you don't need it, don't do it? What advice would you be to someone younger? And then if there's someone older that's like, oh my God, like my mom, for example, I need my skin pulled back, like what will I do? And when she goes, they say, sometimes I think it's the place that she maybe goes to, but they tell her like, no, you don't need that. And like she wants that. Like what advice would you give to the younger generation, and what advice would you give to the older generation?
Ooh, that is a little tough because I
Yeah.
think it definitely is very consult specific. And it's also going back off what we said, like do things for yourself. You don't need anybody's permission. You just have to make sure that the reason behind what you're doing is for you.
Yeah.
And going to somebody that you like their style, you trust their style, you know, they're not going to push you to do a full syringe of filler in your lips if you don't want it, that shows you as they're going along, that has a slow build, especially for people that are in their earlier 20s. Please go to somebody that's on the more conservative side is what I would say. Everyone has their own style, but you want to think about, what am I going to look like in a decade? You know, if I continue to go to somebody that does the Russian lip technique every 6 months, that's manipulating my lip border, that's making me, you know, at risk for migration and all these other things. So going to somebody that you trust is integral, not asking permission.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously you want to make sure that your partner's happy and this and that. But if you're doing something in the nature of self-care, just do it. Like do it because you want to do it and because that you trust yourself and that person's style, and it's going to make you happy.
Of course.
As far as people that are a little bit older, I think not doing anything super drastic, you know, that's why like we're saying the slow build, subtle filler over time, collagen stimulating stuff over time. If you do absolutely nothing up until the age of 60 and then you say, okay, well now I need like 120 units of Botox and 10 syringes of filler, like that's not going to look good. That's when people start looking very, you know, that's what
Doesn't look
the
good.
celebrities that people are scared of, you know, we have to find the gray area between doing nothing and doing everything. So for people that are older, kind of the more conservative things as far as like things that are still going to stimulate their collagen and then filler as needed, and being open to the possibility of surgery depending on how far along, if they're in their 70s or something and they say, hey, you know, like I have very loose skin, we don't want to tack on a ton of filler when really what they need is to address the loose skin, which they could get with like a neck lift and stuff. But it's totally up to them, and they don't need to do anything. They should do it because they want to do it, is obviously the most important part. I've never had to discharge anybody from a clinic. I've just tried to segue people into something that I think is more appropriate for them.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. There's always a different solution, and naturally probably the one that you're saying will benefit them down the line, like you know. What about the final question as well? Like if we're looking at SPF and things that are gonna like save your skin, hydration, your diet, foods, all of the basics that we have right at hand, what are the signs that you need to look out for someone that's like, okay, I need Botox now or I need filler now? Like, how do you know? Obviously, it's person dependent and you would have to do an assessment, but maybe like a general overview of like some people that are listening right now that might say, I need this or I need that. Like, which one would you say?
I think what I really like about being trained originally in like family practice is like you get that base knowledge of medicine, of, you know, cardiovascular disease, chronic illnesses and all this and that. So trying to ensure that somebody tries to lead with like a healthy diet and lifestyle, or explaining the ways that diet and lifestyle can support what their goals are. Because yes, we can do Botox every 3 months forever, but if you're drinking alcohol all the time, if you're laying in the sun, if you're never, you know, working out, never taking care of your body, eating a ton of sugar, all of that's going to affect the way that you look. So it's not a one treatment thing. Like it is a holistic benefit for how do we age in a way that's healthy, that is going to, you know, have me feeling good from the inside out. You know,
Hey, amazing. And physically from the outside, you can't really pinpoint because obviously lines and stuff like that, like frowned. Is that when people are like, okay, you could do it now? Or when is it like that you take the step to say, I feel like I need it? Or does it depend on the person?
It does depend on the person, and also just acknowledging that like when we are 45, we are not going to look the way that we look when we're 20. Okay. So like we don't want to
Yeah.
chase the clock backwards. We just want to like look like our refreshed version of our age, you know?
Yeah, I love
Like,
that.
yeah, I'm turning 30 this year and I'm actually really
Okay.
excited about
Me
it.
too. When's your birthday?
July 1st.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it. And I
Yeah.
think ultimately it's making sure that you're like, I feel the healthiest that I have ever
Yeah.
been because I'm training my body, I'm taking care of myself. And it's not so much an age and a number thing. It's just like, where am I at right now? How do I feel right now? And what's the relationship I have with my body, with the people around me, and my community? So I wouldn't say, you know, if you have like a line here and there, like, okay, when am I going to do this? Like, go to somebody that you trust, talk about what else is going on, and then you can do subtle things here and there without needing to do a ton of work, you know, just to address the lines subtly.
I love that. That's why I loved the connection that we had, because it was holistic, it was health, it was well-being, and it was all interlinked. That it's not just like we're going to cover up this, but
Yes.
also not look at the main things that you do on a daily basis that are your functioning, your diet, your food, your water, everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy like that the two interlink so much, and that's why I wanted to get you on as well, because I wanted people to understand that like you don't just go and get Botox just because, like, look at the underlying like
Exactly.
issues, look at yourself, and like you are like the natural, I'm gonna call you Talia the natural injector, because if you go on, guys, you'll see. And like if you're in Ireland or if you're in Europe and obviously you're not here and you can't come, like you could even say, for example, take some photos from your page and show like, this is what I like, this is the
Yeah.
style, and see if that person can do it for you. But it's just the importance of knowing yourself on a deeper level, I feel, and then working on yourself health-wise, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything all over. And then when you feel like you might need that as an extra boost, as you said, aging is beautiful.
Yeah,
Why is
absolutely.
everyone afraid to get older?
I mean, and it's not to say, so just to, I know that we're at the finish here, but like the most common areas people do Botox are their 11 lines, their forehead, and their crow's feet. Okay.
Yeah.
I think for women, having a little like smize, having a little bit of crow's, it's cute. Okay. So when we chase all the way down, we're deading your eyes, we're taking away your smile.
Yeah.
Nasolabial fold, smile lines, like we have that since we're babies. People
Yeah.
smile, it shows your expressions. So yes, we want to do things that are addressing our lines, keeping ourselves looking youthful and happy, but we also need to note that like this is normal too.
life.
Like, you know, so we don't want to chase every single little thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Like what you said, we're not perfect.
nobody.
Yeah. So don't chase that. It will
Yes.
kill you off. Yeah, I love that. Amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for all of that. That was like so interesting to listen to. I know the younger girls listening to this, even like my mom's, anyone at home that's listening to, is going to definitely take a lot from it. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for coming on as well. I
Absolutely.
hope
I'm
everyone...
nervous. This was my first podcast. so-
Exactly. And look, and it was so natural.
But yeah, my DMs are always open. If anyone has any questions or wants to virtual consult or anything like that, I'm always happy to
Do virtual consults?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there you go. She does virtual consults
You
as
can pick
well.
my brain
and then
anytime.
whereabouts are you as well in Miami for any of the girls in the Florida area? That
Yes,
would like
so I'm at Charette Cosmetics. We have 3 clinics. We have one in Atlanta, we have one in Dallas, and it's been very successful. So they opened a Miami location. I'm the nurse practitioner there, and you can come see me in Miami Beach, and we'll take great care of you. We do everything. So chemical peels, lasers, PRP, Botox, facial balancing, CO2. Think about it, we can do it. And then obviously, you know, talking about diet, lifestyle, weight, all of that as well.
Amazing. And it's a beautiful clinic. So if you're going, you will enjoy that whole process. It's gorgeous. So thank you for coming on. And well done as well on your first podcast. There's
gosh.
definitely going to be more. But guys, if you want to know more, or if you want anything else covered in terms of like Botox injectors, like anything at all, even laser or skin, like pop them below, because we could probably definitely do a part 2 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, thank you
I'll
for
be a little
coming
less
on.
nervous the second time.
You were fine. You flew it. But thank you. And guys, I'll see you on the next one.